Grug has steady job. Works for Big Chief's hunting operation. Same hours every day. Same pay every season. Predictable. Safe. Reliable. Grug's cousin quit steady job 2 years ago. Started own small operation making and selling cave tools. Tribe shook heads. Reckless, they said. Throwing away security for fantasy. Most businesses fail. You will lose everything. Grug visits cousin to see how things are going. Cousin's tool business now employs 3 other cave people. Cousin works fewer hours than Grug. Cousin earns 3 times what Grug earns. Cousin owns something that keeps generating value even on days cousin does not work. Grug sits with this for a while. Then Grug thinks about something else. 6 months ago, Big Chief's hunting operation had a bad season. Cut workforce by 30%. 12 cave people who had safe jobs for 15 years gone within a week. No warning, no severance, no backup plan. Many had never developed any other skill or income source, completely dependent on one employer's decisions. Grug starts to wonder, which situation was actually riskier? Today Grug examines the real risks and rewards of entrepreneurship, without fear-based exaggeration or unrealistic hype. First, let Grug address the most quoted statistic in this entire topic. 90% of businesses fail. This statistic gets repeated constantly to discourage people. Grug investigates where it comes from. Turns out the real data is more nuanced. According to data, 20% of new businesses fail within the first year. About 50% fail within 5 years. About 65 to 70% fail within 10 years. Still sounds discouraging. But Grug digs deeper. What counts as failure in these statistics? A business that closes because the owner retires counted as failure. One that closes because the owner got a better opportunity counted as failure. A business that closes because the owner simply decided to stop with no debt counted as failure. These are wildly different outcomes. Grug also notes, the failure rate varies enormously by how the business was started. Businesses started with no planning and significant debt. Failures are high. Businesses started as side projects, validated with real customers before any major commitment, with minimal debt. Failure rates are still meaningful. But the financial damage from failure is often minor. You simply stop. The 90% statistic scares people away from approaches that carry low risk. Now Grug examines the hidden risks of safe employment that Tribe rarely discusses. Risk 1. Single point of failure. When all of your income comes from one employer, that employer's decisions entirely determine your financial life. If they have a bad year, you might lose your job regardless of your individual performance. If they restructure, relocate, or get acquired, your role might disappear. You have zero control over any of these decisions. This is concentration risk, and Grug already explained why concentration risk is dangerous. Yet most people apply none of that thinking to their largest financial asset, their income. Risk 2. Skill atrophy. Cave person works same specialized role for 20 years. Develops deep expertise in that specific role at that specific company. If that role becomes obsolete due to new technology or automation, that specialized expertise may not transfer easily elsewhere. Meanwhile, the entrepreneur typically develops broader skills: sales, marketing, finance, and adaptability. These skills transfer to almost any future opportunity. Risk 3. Income ceiling. Employment income has a ceiling determined by your role and industry. You can get promotions, but there is a structural ceiling. Business ownership has no such ceiling. The mechanism is structurally different, tied to the value created and scaled. Grug is not saying everyone should quit their job. Grug is saying employment is not no risk. It is a different risk profile, and most people never examine it because it feels familiar and therefore feels safe. Now Grug explains how successful entrepreneurs actually manage risk, and it is almost nothing like the gambling image tribe has in their heads. The image tribe has entrepreneur quits job, drains savings, bets everything on one big idea, either becomes wildly rich or loses everything. The reality for most successful entrepreneurs Grug has studied, a much more gradual, risk-managed process. Approach 1. The side business validation model. Start the business while still employed. Build it on evenings and weekends. Get real customers, real revenue, real feedback, while your living expenses are still covered by your job. This single approach eliminates most of the catastrophic risk people associate with entrepreneurship. If the side business fails, you have lost some time and perhaps a small amount of money. Your income, your housing, your life, unaffected. If the side business succeeds, you now have evidence, real revenue, real customers, before making any major life decision. Grug's cousin did exactly this. Made cave tools on weekends for over a year while still working. Only quit the steady job once side income consistently exceeded what the job paid. By the time cousin quit, the risk was already largely validated away. Approach 2. The minimum viable test. Before investing significant teeth into any business idea, test the core assumption with the smallest possible investment. Want to sell handmade cave tools? Make 5. Sell them. See if anyone actually buys at a price that is profitable. Want to start a cave tour guide service? Offer it to a few people first, even informally, before any equipment or marketing investment. This approach means most of the failure happens at the idea testing stage, where the cost of being wrong is almost nothing. Approach 3. Keep the financial runway long. Before making any full transition, build an emergency fund covering 6 to 12 months of expenses beyond what is needed for stability. This runway means decisions are made from a position of stability, not desperation. Desperation leads to poor decisions, like panicking at the first setback. Approach 4. Understand the difference between a job replacement and a scalable business. Many small businesses are essentially self-employment. The owner trades their time directly for income, similar to a job but with more autonomy. But it is structurally different from a business that can grow through employees, systems, or products that scale without proportional owner time. Knowing which type of business you are building affects everything from how much capital to invest to what the eventual outcome might look like. Now Grug addresses the financial mathematics of entrepreneurship directly, because ultimately, this is a finance channel. The decision should be made with numbers, not just inspiration. Question 1. What is the actual downside if this fails? If you follow the side business validation approach, with minimal upfront capital, the downside of failure is typically some hours of unpaid time and a small amount of money, often less than the cost of a single vacation. This is a very different downside than lose everything. Question 2. What is the opportunity cost of your time? If building a side business takes 10 hours per week for a year, that's 520 hours. What else could those hours have produced? Additional income? Skills development? Rest that improves performance at your main job? This is a real cost, even when no money changes hands. Question 3. If it works, what does the math actually look like? A side business generating even modest profit, say 10% of your current salary, represents a meaningful increase in total income. If that side business eventually grows to match or exceed your primary income, you now have the validated evidence needed to consider transitioning. You transition from a position of strength, not a leap of faith. Question 4. Are you solving the right problem for the right people? The single biggest reason validated side businesses do not grow is building something a sufficient number of people are willing to pay for. This is why validation matters. It tests this specific question before any major commitment. when the cost of being wrong is lowest. Grug's honest framework for entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is not inherently reckless, and employment is not inherently safe. Both have risk profiles, they are simply different. Catastrophic failure is mostly the result of skipping validation and committing large capital. The side business validation model dramatically reduces downside while preserving most of the upside. The real question is, can I test this idea with minimal capital, while keeping my income stable to see if it has merit? Grug is not telling every cave person to become an entrepreneur. Many people build excellent financial lives through employment and investing principles, and that is a completely legitimate path. But the framing of safe job versus reckless business is too simple, causing many to dismiss opportunities that carry far less risk. Test small. Validate before committing. Keep your runway long. Make the decision with evidence, not hope. Cousin did not gamble everything. He tested an idea on weekends until the evidence was undeniable. That is just good risk management. Next video. Grug discovers negotiation. Tribe thinks the price you're offered is the price you pay. Grug finds out that is rarely true, and the cost of never asking. Do not miss it.